Hi everyone, welcome to the session. In this session, we are going to start the Azure networking. So in the Azure networking, the first topic that we will discuss is VNet. So let's get started. So let's begin the one. See what happens. So in Azure, if you have some resources, let's say you have virtual machines. Let's say you have 5, 6, 10, or hundreds of virtual machines running on the Azure portal, and you want to connect all the virtual machines together. You want to communicate from one VM to another VM. Let's say you have two virtual machines, for example, and you want to connect these two virtual machines together. This is my virtual machine number one, and this is my VM number two. So you want to connect both of these VMs together. You want to make the connectivity. You want to do the ping. So how does it possible? So in the on premises, what do you do? In the on premises, you bring one of the switch and you connect these two servers using the LAN cable with the switch. Then you assign the IP address, the private IPs to the host. Then you are able to ping. This is something you do in the on premises. When it comes to the Azure environment, so in the Azure, if you have multiple VMs in the Azure portal, for example, if you have, let's say, one, two, three, or whatever number of VMs you have in the Azure portal, and you want to connect them together. Let's say you want to do the ping, you want to do the connectivity, and further after you want to do the data sharing. So your main purpose is to do the connectivity now. So what you can do, if you want to connect all the VMs together, then you can create one resource in Azure which is called VNet. So you can deploy one of the VNet in Azure, and you can connect all your virtual machines with that particular VNet. So VNet is working like a virtual switch in the Azure portal. And once you will connect all the VMs in the VNet, then you can assign the private IPs. So in the case of Azure, the IPs are managed by the Microsoft DSCPs. You can have your own IP network as well. So you can assign the IPs to the system, and further that you will be able to communicate to each other. So VNet is one of the resource which facilitates the networking. So if you have multiple resources, it can be virtual machines, it can be any other resource, and if you want to do the connectivity among them, then you have to use the VNet. So VNet basically stands for virtual network. So if I just go to one of the document here. So VNet stands for virtual network, and it is a fundamental building block for your private network in Azure. So if you want to set up your own private network, if you want to connect multiple servers together, you have to use the VNet here. So you can connect different type of resources to communicate with each other. You can, let's say, if you want to connect your on premises server, let's say you have one VM in on premises on the VMware infrastructure, and you want to connect it with the VM which is in Azure. So that is also possible through this VNet. So you have to extend it using the gateways and all. So we will discuss that in future. But VNet is one of the fundamental thing that you need. So VNet helps you to form the networking. It helps you to facilitate the connection. If I just go further, so under the VNet, you have to discuss multiple things. You should know multiple things over here. Just like if I specifically talk about the VNet, so you must know what is address space and you must know what is address range or subnet. So you should be clear with these terminologies. But before that, if you just go to the official document of Microsoft, so here also you will see Azure VNet is a service that provides the fundamental building block to your private network in Azure. It is one of the resource or instance that enables many types of Azure resources to securely communicate with each other. So using the VNet, you can securely do the connectivity with each other, even from your internet also and to your on-premises network also. So let's understand more. So let's talk about these terminologies. So when you will set up the VNet, when you are going to set up the VNet, so what happens? This is one of the image depicting the VNet connectivity. So you have to set up one of the VNet, and VNet will always be deployed in a particular region. For example, if you have chosen UK South as a region for the VNet, let's say your VNet is in the UK South. So you can connect the resources within this VNet, which belongs to the UK South only. So VNet has a limitation. VNet can only connect the resources which is there in the same region of the VNet. So if you want, let's say you have a VNet and that VNet is in the East US location, and you want to connect one of the VM with this VNet, and that VM is, let's say, in the UK South. So the connection will not be possible. It is not possible to connect. So the region of the VM should also be East US in order to do the connectivity to the VNet. So this is one of the dependency, or you can say limitation, of the VNet. So VM must be in the same region of the VNet. Now, under the VNet, when you will connect the servers for the networking purpose, so what happens? There is one concept which is called address space. So generally what happens whenever we deploy the VNet in the Azure, so we must have to define the address space. And what is address space? So address space is the complete range of IP that we have in order to assign to our servers via DHCP. So when we provide the range on the VNet, so the Microsoft DHCP is going to provide the IP addresses to my virtual machines, which is going to be connect to the VNet, and that range is called address space. So for example, if you have decided, let's say that in your network, the address space is going to be 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1. Let's say 200. So you have around 200 IP addresses within this range of C class. So this complete IP range is called address space. So whatever amount of IP you have in order to assign to your infrastructure, in order to assign to your servers, that is called address space. So you must have a valid address space, and this is changeable anytime. So if you want to increase it or decrease it in the future, that is possible. So for example, we have this 200 IP addresses for the allocation of the VMs. Now comes another topic which is called address range, or you can also call it subnet in the Azure. So generally what happens, let's say you have total around 200 IP addresses starting from 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.200. And out of these IP addresses, you have decided that some IP will be used for the development servers. So let's suppose I will be using 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.50 IPs for the development servers. So the servers that I will create in the development environment or for development purposes, they will be getting the IP in these series that I have decided. And then I decided that in the production, in the prod environment, I will be getting, let's say, 192.168 1.51 to 192.168.1. Let's say 150 IPs. So 100 IPs I have reserved for the production environment. So the servers which will run in my production scenario, they will be getting the IP in these range only. And the remaining IPs I have reserved for the testing purpose. So for the testing environment, let's suppose I have reserved 192.168 1.151 to the remaining one, which is 192.168 1.200. So out of this complete address space range, I have allocated, I have categorized some IPs for different tasks, for different departments, or for different scenarios. So that is our subnet. We can generally call it our subnet. So we can utilize the complete subnet in one go. Let's say I don't want to factorize this. I want to use the complete range as part of one subnet only. That is also possible. If you want to use some IPs for different scenarios, just like in this scenario, we have the IPs allocated for different purposes. So that is also possible. So address space is the bigger range that we have in our environment for the allocation to the host, and subnet is one of the range that we take from the address space for the allocation to the VMs in different departments or for different tasks or purposes. So that is the difference between address space and address range. And this question is also discussed during the interviews. So you should know the difference between both of this. So address space will be configured on the VNet, and subnet will also be configured on the VNet. So if you just go to this image, here you can see we have a VNet, and this can be in a particular region. For example, it is in the UK South. Here we have 4 servers running. So 2 servers we are running in subnet A. We have given the name as subnet A, or you can give it as IT subnet. And another 2 servers are running here in, let's say, development environment. So we can call it dev subnet or subnet B. And both the subnets are connected under the VNet. So once we have the IPs assigned on these 4 servers, then they will be able to communicate to each other. The ping, the connection will be possible. This is how it works. So again, as an overview, VNet is one of the resource which will help you for the connectivity in Azure. So you have to deploy one of the VNet, and under the VNet, there will be address space and there will be address range, which is called subnet here also. And the virtual machines that you want to connect together, that VM should be the part of a particular VNet. It has to be connected to the VNet. Then only the communication will be possible. So VNet helps us to form the private connectivity. It helps us to do the connection, and you can assume it like a LAN. It helps you to form a internal communication like a LAN. So let's understand the practical part of it to gain more understanding. So what I will be doing for this practical, I will just go to the Azure portal, and I am going to create one VNet with the name of VNet 01. And under VNet 01, what I will be doing, so I will be creating VM-01 and VM-02. So I will be creating 2 virtual machine inside one of the VNet. And I will create another VM, which is VM 03 under VNet 01. So these 3 virtual machines will be connected to the VNet 01, and I will create 2 subnets here. So there will be 2 subnets. First subnet name I will give as, let's say, dev subnet, and another subnet will be our IT subnet. So what I will be doing, I will be connecting VM number 1 and 2 with the IT subnet, and VM 03 will be connected with the dev subnet. So then I will show you if the communication is possible or not. So let's see this setup. Let's jump to the practical part of it. So here I am on my Azure portal, and the very first thing is you must have a resource group. So I will create the resource group during the VM creation. So I can simply go to the virtual machine, and here I will deploy my first VM. And before this, either you can set up the VNet during the VM deployment, or what you can do, you can set up the VNet before the VM deployment as well. So whatever you choose, that's your wish. Because we don't have any resource right now. If you just go to the resource group, we don't have any resource right now. So let's go with the basic fundamental things. So I will just go and create one VNet first. So I will search for the VNet, and you can see there is one option, virtual networks. I will just go here, and here you can see the description of it. And this is the icon of the virtual network. I can simply click on create. Here we need to choose our right subscription, and we need to choose the resource group under which we want to do the resource deployment. So I don't have any free resource group yet. So I will create a new resource group with the name of POP. And in the virtual network name, you can give one of the names. So I will give VNet-01. So I will give the name as VNet 01 for my VNet. The region of the VNet will be UK South. You can choose the region accordingly. Click on next. How will you secure the VNet communication? So we have multiple options here. We have virtual network encryption, we have Bastion, we have firewall, and we have DDoS network protection. So we will discuss these options in the future topics. Bastion we have already discussed prior. For now, we will leave it as it is. We will just click on next. And this is the area where we have to define the address space and address range. So you have to define the address space and address range in this particular section. So here you can see there is one default range 10.0.0./16, which is the CIDR. So this is your complete address space. And within this address space, you have to create the subnet, which is also known as address range. So let's configure it. So in the company, the network team will decide how many IPs we need, and accordingly, they will give you the CIDR value. You have to configure it accordingly. They will calculate the IP addresses using subnetting methods and all. So you are not responsible for it. So what I will be doing here, I will be using one of the C class IP. For example, I want to use 192.168.1. Or let's say 0.0, which is the private range. And if you go with /16 as a CIDR, so in total you will be having 65,536 addresses. And the range will start from this one. It will start from 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. But in case if you need more addresses, then you can reduce the CIDR number and you will get more address. For example, if I will reduce it to /15, so I will be getting around 1,31,000 addresses. And if you have, let's say, less requirement of the IP, so you can just go, let's say, with if you go with /19, you will end up with 8,192 addresses. And if you, let's say, go with /26, so you are left with 64 addresses. So according to your requirement in the business, according to the requirement of the infrastructure, we can choose the range of IP and we can choose the CIDR so that the IP can be calculated. So this is a very good feature in Azure that you don't have to perform the subnetting to calculate the number of IP addresses. Here we have very good interface. We can just go and we can select the CIDR and we will get the range that how many addresses are available with this particular CIDR. So earlier there used to be the calculation. We had to do the subnetting to calculate the number of IP addresses and the range, and we need to put it over here. But now the things have been changed. It has been advanced. So we can choose it accordingly. So I will, let's say, go with /23. In total, I will be getting 512 addresses in this network, virtual network, and the range will be from 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.1.255. So before this VNet practical, you guys should be aware about the IP addressing. What is IP address? What are the classes of IP address? How to assign the IP address? Then you must be aware about the subnet mask. You must be aware about the DHCP protocol, and you should know how to check the IP address on all the configuration. And if you know the subnetting, that is good, so that you can understand how this calculation is being done. If you don't know subnetting, that's fine because we have very good graphical interface over here, but you should know the fundamental things related to the IP. So in case you don't know, then just go and learn about these stuffs. So here I have given one of the address space with 512 addresses and the CIDR is /23. Now we have to create the subnets. So in case you will not create any subnet, so there will be one default subnet created. In case you want to edit this one, you can simply go to this edit icon and here we can just change it. So in the name of the subnet, I will create two subnets here as decided. So we will be creating two subnet. One will be dev subnet, another one will be IT subnet. So here I will give the name dev hyphen subnet as the name. And in the range, we have total 512 addresses. So I want to use some IPs for the dev subnet and some IPs for my another subnet, which is IT. So let's select the CIDR here. So if you just go, let's say you cannot see the option of below 23. Why? Because you have the total address space of /23, so you cannot go below that. So either you can use the complete address. Let's say if you will choose /23, so there will be complete 512 addresses used. But I want to use it with two subnets. So I will use some of the IP. Let's say I will use 128 addresses with /25 CIDR for my dev subnet. So I have chosen it. Range will be 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.0.127. So these 128 addresses will be used in the depth subnet, and we can change it if we want to. So here the 0 is also countable. That is why it is 128 addresses. If you count 0 as well, we just need to click on save. So one subnet is created, and I want to create one more subnet here. And in case you want to create another subnet in future after the deployment, that is also possible. So I will also cover that one. For now, I will create another subnet, which is IT subnet. So I will just go here and I will create one more subnet. So add a subnet, and this time I will give the name IT subnet. And I have used 128 addresses here in total of 512 addresses. So I still have a lot of addresses available. And out of this, let's say I want to use around 120 addresses more. So I have chosen 128 addresses for this one and 128 addresses for this one. So around 256 addresses I have used, but still I am left with a lot of addresses. So around 250 something addresses are still pending. So I can use it in future if I want to, or if I want to increase these ranges, that is also possible. So I will use /25. I want to use only 128 addresses. Click on add. So 128 addresses will be used for the dev subnet. Another 128 addresses will be used for the IT subnet. And in total, I have 512 addresses. So if you will take out the calculation, if you will just minus 512 with 128 and 128, you are still left with a lot of addresses. If you just click on next, you just have to provide the tag details if you want to. I will skip this part, but in companies, again, I have told you prior as well, it is mandatory. So you must have to include the tags. I will skip it next, and then we can just click on create. So it is running the validation. And now this is the summary of what I want to do, and I will click on create now. So let's wait for this deployment to happen. So this deployment is completed. We have one VNet ready. If you just go and search about the VNet in the portal, so you will see the virtual network is here. If you just click on this, so you can see we have VNet-01. It is in the UK South region. If you just click on this, so you will get some details about it. So we have the address space of this one that we have given 192.168.0.0/23. So this is the address space that we have. And if you go to the left side under the settings, you can again see the address space, and from here you can modify it. So right now we have around 512 addresses in my address space in total, and this is the range of my address. If you go to the connected devices, so right now no server is connected with this VNet, with this network. So we will connect it. And if you go to the subnet, so here you will see your subnet details. So we have two subnets, dev and IT. If you want to create more subnets, you can. If you want to change these ranges, you can. So if you remember, during the deployment, it was showing around 128 addresses for each subnet, but now it is 123. Why that is the case? Because 5 addresses from each subnet will always be reserved by the Microsoft for different tasks. So 5 IPs will always be reserved from each subnet. Let's say you have 4 subnets. So from each subnet, five IPs are going to be reserved. So what can be the purpose? So the first IP will be reserved for the network ID. Then another 2 IPs will be reserved for the DNS. Then the fourth segment will be reserved for the gateway. And the last one will be reserved for the broadcasting. So I will uh, provide you the ranges as well. So 5 IPs will always be reserved and you cannot use them. That is the reason 5 IPs have been reduced. So in total, we are left with 123 IPs in each subnet for the allocation. Now, what I am going to do, so my VNet has been successfully deployed. Now I am going to create 3 virtual machines. 2 VMs will be connected with the dev subnet, and the third VM I am going to connect it with the IT subnet. So let's proceed with the deployment. So it's very simple. You already know how to do it. So I will just open another tab here. And here I will just go to the virtual machine, click on create, then I will go to virtual machine here. So here in terms of resource group, you can create a new resource group. I will go with the same one. And the first VM name, I will give VM-01. It will be deployed in the UK South region. I will not choose any availability, so I will leave it as independent VM. And for the image, you can choose any image. It doesn't matter. I will go with Windows Server. With this configuration, this is fine for me. And then we have to set up the username and password. So here the RDP access will be enabled. Click on next. I will not add any extra disk, so we can just click on next. Under the networking section, here in the network interface, we have to choose where do you want to connect this VM. So I am deploying this VM01. Under which network you want to connect the VM01. So I want to connect my VM01 with VNet-01 network. So this is going to be my virtual switch. So I have chosen VNet 1 here. Then from which subnet you want to receive the IP address? How do you want to connect? In which subnet it belongs to? So my VM1 is going to be the part of my dev subnet. So you can see we have two subnets in this VNet01, dev and IT. So I want to connect my VM01 with the dev subnet, and this will be the IP range. So my server will be getting the IP from this range only. Then I also need a public IP so that I can take the remote here. Rest of the things will be as it is. We can just click on next, next, and review plus create. So let's wait for the validation to be completed. Now we can click on create and let's wait for this deployment to happen. Then I will create the second virtual machine. So one VM has been deployed now. So let's create another VM. I will simply go to the virtual machine again. We have one VM ready. Click on create, then go to the virtual machine. I will choose the same resource group. You can have another one also. Second VM will be VM02. It will be in the UK South. And this time, again, it will be no infrastructure redundant VM. Image you can choose. Then we can set up the username and password for the admin account. Click on next, next. And under the networking, I want to connect this VM2 with the VNet01. And this VM will also receive the IP from the dev subnet. So I will connect it with the dev subnet, then click on next and review plus create. So let's wait for the validation again. Click on create. So my second VM is also deployed. I have now two virtual machines running. If you just go to the virtual machine, we have two VMs. Now let's create the third virtual machine. So I will again go with the same process. Choose the resource group, give the name VM03, no redundancy, and set up the username and password for the VM. Click on next, next. This VM will also get connected to the VNet one, but the subnet I want to keep as IT subnet. So this VM that I'm deploying right now, it belongs to the IT subnet here. So I will just choose it IT subnet. Then rest of the things will be as it is. Just next and review plus create. Now we can just click on create and let's wait for this deployment also. So this deployment is also completed. Now we have three VMs ready. If you just go to the virtual machine, we can see we have three VMs. And if you open the VM one by one, so you can see where it is connected. So if you go to the overview, you can see this VM is connected with the VNet 01 and depth subnet. And if you scroll down, so you will see there is a private IP as well. See, there will be one public IP. This is to take the remote and connect with the public network. And if you scroll down, so there will be one private IP as well. So it is 192.168.0.4. So this private IP is coming from the address space subnet that we have given. So in the overview, it is clearly visible. It is the part of VNet1 depth subnet. And similarly, if you move to the VM02, this is also connected with VNet1, see, and depth subnet. And this is the public IP, and here it is getting the private IP 192.168.0.5. So why the IP is coming in the range of 192.168.0.4 and 5? Because I told you the 5 IPs will always be reserved. So first 3 IPs will be reserved from the series, and the last IP will be reserved from the broadcasting, and one will be reserved for the network ID. So that is why it is looking like this. Let me show you how does it happen. So let's say the range is 192.168.0.0. So this will be reserved for the network ID. Then 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.2. This will be reserved for the DNS by Microsoft. Then 192.168.1.3 will be reserved for the gateway, for the DG, for default gateway. And the last one, let's say if your last range is 192.168.1.255, so this will be reserved for the broadcasting. So these 5 IPs in the series will always be reserved. So in each subnet, the last IP will always be reserved. So this is how it works. So that is why the 5 IPs have been reduced, and starting 3 IPs like 1.1, 1.3, and 1.3 will not be available. That is why the IP is starting from 0.4, 0.5 like this. So now, if you again go to the portal, if you go to VM03, it is also connected with VNet 1, but the subnet is IT subnet. See, and this IP is slightly different. It is coming from the IT subnet range. That is why it is 132. So we have 3 servers ready. And similarly, if you go to the VNet, so under the VNet 01, you can see your connected devices are now showing. So we have 3 servers connected. This is VM1, this is VM2, and this is VM3, and these are the IP addresses. And these IPs are coming from dev subnet, and the third VM is getting the IP from IT subnet. Now, what is this name? So this is the network interface card name of the VM. If you just go to any of the VM, let's say I am on VM03. If I go to network settings, so from here you can see the NIC card name. So the nickname you can see is VM03 983 something, and this is something which is coming here. See, VM03893 something, and this is the IT subnet server, and the IP is this one. So from here you can just validate your NIC name. So when it comes to the connected devices, the network interfaces will come here as part of the VNet, and the IP will be coming. So 3 servers are connected, and if you now go to the subnet, so you will see the IPs have been reduced. So 2 IPs, earlier it was showing 123. 2 IPs have been allocated from the dev subnet, and 2 IPs have been 1 IP have been allocated from the IT subnet. So 1 IP is reduced here, and 2 IPs have been reduced here. In future, if you want to change, let's say the range of the address space, so that is also possible. Just go here, and let's say you want to make it /22. You need more addresses. Let's say you need 1024 addresses. You can just change it, click on save, and this is possible. So in the connected environment, it is possible. You can clearly see my servers are connected. I don't have to shut down any of the VM. In the running environment, I was able to change my address count. And if I go to the subnet, if I just click on any of the subnet, and from here also, if you try to change any of the IP, so you can see the subnet ranges changes are not possible here. See, so you cannot change the subnet ID here because it is connected. But yes, the address space is always possible to change. Now, let me take the remote of the VMs and let me show you if the connectivity is happening or not. So what I will do, I will just go to the VM one by one. I will go to this VM01, download the RDP file. Let me check with the download again. Okay. Now we can just download the RDP file of VM01. Then let me just open it, connect. I will enter the password here for the VM. Connect. then yes. So this is my VM01 connection. Similarly, I will just go and take the remote connection of VM2 and 3 respectively. So connect, download the RDP file, open, then I will just enter the password. And I will again go to the third virtual machine, and from here as well, I will download the RDP file and take the remote of it. Let me just refresh this VM. Sometimes it causes the issue if it is not synced properly. So let me download the RDP file again. Now enter the password, then OK. Then yes. So now we have the remote of 3 virtual machines. See? So let's go to the VM one by one. We have 3 connections ready. I will go to VM01, and this is my VM01, and let me show you the host name. So I will open the CMD here and I will type host name command, and you can see it is VM01. And I will also check the IP address, the private IP of this server. So it is 192.168.0.4. And if I move to my second VM, which is this one, so here also this is VM02. If you see the host name, it is VM2 and the IP is 192.168.0.5. So this is coming from my dep subnet. And if I move to my VM03, let's validate the host name. So it is VM03 and the IP is 192.168.0.132. It is coming from the IT subnet. Now let's see if the communication is happening among these 3 VMs or not. So for the communication, we will do the ping, and let's see if the ping is happening or not. So from the VM01, I am sitting on VM01, and from here, let me try to ping to my neighbor, which is 192.168.0.5. So 0.5 is VM02, and you can see the ping is not happening. See, the ping is not happening here. It is server number 2. And if I just check the IP of VM03, so this is VM03 and the IP is 192.168.0.132. So let me see from VM1 if I can ping or not to the VM03. So ping space 192.168.0.132. So again, you can see the ping is not happening, and same thing will happen with all of these VMs. They will not be able to ping to each other. So why this is happening? The VM is connected with the same VNet. These 3 VMs are in the same VNet. So they should be able to ping to each other. But why this is happening? Because in the Windows level, there is a firewall. There is a defender for firewall, which by default blocks the ICMP communication. And that is why the ping is not happening, because the window defender firewall is on each and every server. If you just open run, and if you go to firewall.cpl, so here you can see the firewall is on. And when the firewall is on, so it does not allow the communication to happen via ICMP. So ICMP is a connectivity protocol which is responsible for the ping. So either you can turn off the firewall, then the ping will start, but it is not recommended in the production scenario to turn off the firewall. So what I will do, I will allow the exception for the ICMP. I will just go to the left side. There is one option, advanced settings. Just click on this, and then you need to go to the inbound rules for allowing the ICMP communication, for allowing the ICMP traffic. Because when someone is pinging you, let's say I am server A, and server B is trying to ping me. So server B will send me the ping request, and that ping request is inbound for the server A. So that is why we have to enable inbound access on all the servers. So I will go to inbound rules, and here we have to search for file and printer sharing. So if you will press F, you will see file and printer sharing echo request ICMP version 4. Because we are using IP version 4, that's why the ICMP version will be ICMP v4. And if it is IP version 6, it will be ICMP v6. So right now it is not enabled. See, I have to right click on this ICMP version 4 and enable the rule. So once you will enable it, you have to perform the same activity on another servers as well. So firewall is still on. I will just move to my another servers. This is my VM02. And here also I will perform the same activity. I will move to firewall.cpl. Then go to advanced settings. Go to inbound rules. Then file and printer sharing echo request. Right now it is not enabled. Right click and enable the rule. And same thing I will perform on my third server as well. So move to the last one. Open the firewall.cpl. Let the firewall on. I will not turn it off again. Advanced settings. Inbound rules. Then file and printer sharing echo request, right click and enable. That's it. Once you will enable the rules, now the ICMP connection is possible. So if you just move to VM01, you should see the ping is happening. See, the connection has been started. The ping is happening now. And if you just go to any of the server, let's say if I move to my VM03, this is my VM3. And from here, if I try to ping, let's say to the first server, 192.168.0.4, the ping will happen now. And similarly, if you try to ping to the second server, which is 192.168.0.5, the ping is happening. So you can see all these three servers are able to ping to each other without any hassle because they are connected with one of the VNet. So if the servers are connected to the VNet, they can ping to each other. You can notice one thing. I have two servers which is connected with the DAP subnet, and I have one server which is connected with the IT subnet. But still, all of these three servers are able to ping to each other. So if any of the VM is connected to a VNet, it doesn't matter what their subnet is. If the VMs are connected with the same VNet, they will be able to ping to each other. The ping will happen, the communication will happen. It doesn't matter what their subnet is. You can see two VMs are the part of same subnet, but last VM is from the IT subnet. But still, these three VMs are able to ping to each other. Why? Because these all subnet belongs to the VNet 01. So if the server belongs to the same VNet, it doesn't matter what their subnet is, the communication will happen, the connectivity will happen. This is how the VNet works. And this is how the normal communication takes place. So I hope you understood the session. I hope you understood the topic. This is how the simple networking formed. Now in the future topics, we will be discussing some advanced options like peering. So my next video will be on the peering topic where I will show you some complex connectivity. So for now, we can just wrap up this call. Thank you very much for your timing. See you in the next session. Bye.